Ding, ding, ding. Namaste, everybody. I'm feeling very jived up here. We're honored to have our long lost friend on here, Tall Tree. And we're going to be having a cool little conversation. Namaste. We've got Systematic there. Systematic Zoo. Hey, brother Tomaru. Howard. And everybody else that's joined the show. Namaste. Hope you guys are well. Howard, was it you that messaged me, by the way, in Telegram? Just checking. It was you, wasn't it? Either that or there are a lot of Howards running around out there doppelganging you, brother. And Systematic, man. I hope you're well. I thought you would be busy with work, brother. So before we... it wasn't you. Okay, so it was a different Howard. There are all these Howards out there. I'm like I'm being... I'm coming across a lot of Howards. It's just interesting. So yeah, we myself and Tall Tree haven't been on in a little while, but I'm looking forward to this conversation. We're going to sort of be drawing parallels between the Ragnarok, the end of the world war, the switch between the Kali Yuga, and the morality that we're living in this age, which is obviously an immoral age, corruption everywhere as far as the eye can see. And the purpose of morality, why would you want to be a good person? Well, what's in it for me? Mentality, like we've learned to have to think that way because the financial system has trained us. And then again, how this all is going to fit together with our current epoch of disturbing revelations, especially if your parents, what's going on with that ring of crazy people out there called the Epstein files. I don't like the name. But yeah, without any further ado, let's give our dear friend Tall Tree an opportunity to introduce himself, tell us a little bit about him. He's really cool. It's an honor to be on here with him. I love his level-headedness. I like the way he's grounded. Hey, Zerilat, brother. I hope you're good, man. Yeah, most definitely. Give me a couple of minutes. So, dear brother Tall Tree, tell us what you're up to. What's going on in your world?
Hey guys, I'm impressed that there's 10 people watching right now. Usually there's like a couple, but I happened to notice that you're a pirate this morning. Did you with your parrot there? There's a new friend, huh?
His name is Agathon.
Okay, nice.
And he lives up to his name, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that he's the boss, right? The dogs know it. The bunnies know it. We know it. Everybody knows that he's Agathon. He's afraid of nothing.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm doing great. And it's getting warmer over here. It's been raining for 2 days and one night. But there's mushrooms that grow in the yard, and my wife has actually last year identified these mushrooms as edible, and was able to harvest a bunch of them, and they were the best mushrooms I've ever had. These natural, yard-grown, spontaneous mushrooms. Oh my gosh. The flavor, I've never tasted the flavor of these mushrooms before. So I'm curious if after this rain, this early in the year, if they'll pop up. But I'll be looking for them. But yeah, so I don't know. I was when when something, so there's, what am I? I'm 40 years old, and uh-oh. I think I hear somebody. Hey, can you do you mind talking for a little bit? I'm gonna run upstairs and just check things out
Absolutely,
real quick.
brother.
Okay.
Absolutely, brother. Um, so, and I'll check in with him now. I just want to give him a chance to share some of his views. I'm going to invite in some people in a minute. I think Zerilat may be up for it, and I don't know if Systematic was going to respond. This is sort of something we just sort of hatched up. We spoke about it last week, and so it's just an addition. I think this is a really important conversation because we're at that crucial point now where everybody is waving the flag of Aquarius, like, welcome to the age of Aquarius. Even if you think it's not quite true, you might be delirious. And you don't have to pretend that you're always serious. Just because they say it's the age of Aquarius. I think there's a lot of bullshit baffling brains at the moment. You know, this is a very new age idea. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but the age of Aquarius, according to Western astrology, classical, doesn't start for centuries. According to Vedic astrology, doesn't start for centuries. At the best bet, we're more than 100 years, 150 years away from the beginning of Aquarius, two or three. Suddenly, they invented the enneagram, this new concept. Well, it's not really an enneagram. They've just mashed together a couple of symbols and tried to call it an enneagram, redefining numerology, redefining the occult. People like Aleister Crowley came along and, turned it into pop occult and sort of smeared a lot of the old occult precepts. Like, for example, the fundamental principle in all occult, that is the law. The law. There is divine law. You look at the tarot, and what do you see in the middle of the tarot pack? Not on the side, not anywhere random, right the apex point. There are 21 cards. There are 10 cards that come before it, and there are 10 cards that come after it. It represents Libra, and it is justice. And justice, the scales, represents Mart, represents divine order and divine law. This is at the core of every occult practice in the world. Then Aleister Crowley comes along and says, do as thou will, that is the whole of the law. Come on. That new age fiffy nonsense has now polluted our knowledge spectrum with the so-called, what it has become, this chaos magic, which is based upon true magical principles. However, it is just a smeared version of it. And so, sort of like going to architectural school, and they teach you everything correct except for bearing weight, right? You build these big, beautiful homes, but they collapse after like 15 years because you weren't taught the correct maths regarding the bearing of mass and weight. So the foundations aren't correct. So I think like we're living in this age of psychological corruption, mental corruption. Now we're being told we're in the age of Aquarius and that this is all great. I've even noticed AI is trying to redefine what the age of Aquarius means, right? If you go and look on AI, it'll say connectivity between people, right? Because they really want to push this narrative that we're in the age of Aquarius. What does the age of Aquarius really represent? It represents cooperation. It represents working together towards a common goal, not personal goals, but collective goals for the betterment of society and humanity. That's what Aquarius represents. Is that what we see in the world? No. But we hear all these people quoting the New Age vomit nonsense that we're in the age of Aquarius, which we are not. Let's not even pretend that we're anywhere near the age of Aquarius, because it makes us dizzy, makes us confused, and then we start mouth vomiting all this brown stuff everywhere. The smell's atrocious, and it attracts flies. We don't need that. So I would say like we've really got to take a step back with the occult cosmology and understand why the story of Epstein revelations are happening in our current day and age, right? What does Pisces represent? Pisces represents the land of dreams. My dream. I have a dream to be this. I have a dream to be that. My dreams of what I want to achieve, what I wish. It's all very personal. It's very much related to fantasies, right? We live in an age where fantasies are entertaining us left, right, and center. That's very Piscean. Piscean also represents acting under authoritarianism. Are we in an authoritarian world? Are we acting? Are you allowed to leave your country, or do you need permission? Do you need permission to fart? Just about anything you want to do these days. Do you need permission to own a gun? Do you need permission to drive a car? Do you need permission to travel? Do you need permission to tell you that your child has learned what your child needs to know? Like, when does the network of permission end? So we are still very much in the age of Pisces. And so this brings us to the beginning of the conversation, the Ragnarok, Armageddon. And we're going to jump into all of these topics. And morality. Wow, let's not even get started. We got to understand the differences between ethics and morality before we can even begin to consider the topic of right and wrong. Are you with us, dear tall tree?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, brother.
All right. Hold on a sec. I got to set up the little one. All right.
Namaste, Otigli. Namaste, Rodney. Namaste, everybody. NPZ on. Big love to all you people. And yeah, brother, I've just basically introduced the idea of this new age fluff about us being in the age of Aquarius, which contradicts what we see, contradicts classical astrology. It was all just invented this century, just like everything else was reinvented this century, like our history, like the truth, like science, like everything you can imagine. Gosh, they are reinventing the English language as we sit here, and your poor daughter is one day going to be taught to spell the word woman with an X. Isn't that just a disaster?
Well, I don't know who's gonna. I don't know who's gonna teach her that, but
I think the internet.
The internet, yeah.
Should spell checker.
It. I don't know, maybe. We'll see what happens, because I think a lot about what the world's gonna be like when she is when her awareness expands beyond the
homeschool,
the house here, yeah. And I struggle with well, it's not a struggle yet. I guess I'm anticipating the struggle of basically being a good parent, doing my best to direct my child's awareness to what's good in life, while attempting to create buffers between her and the evil of the world, basically. and the evil of the world is kind of what I wanted us to get into. I think I've said it before on the show that it's pretty obvious to me that there's competing light and dark powers at play in our realm of reality, waking reality. And that's like one of the most ancient of themes. But it's pretty stark once you open your eyes and take a look around, and start paying attention to your body and stuff like that. But with these with these Epstein file releases, there's been this injection into the psychosphere of fear and paranoia, and a sense that the power structures um, resting above us are, you know, rancid and putrefying, and um, of the darkest black, you know, that can be found in our nightmares. And it's oppressive. It can be thinking about it for long enough can start to feel very oppressive. You know, I haven't personally sought out these emails to read on any government website. You know, I hear things, you know, I listen to podcasts and stuff like that. But I get the idea. And there's a guy who just uh put out an essay. What the hell, Daryl, his name's Daryl Cooper, and he's got a podcast called the Martyr Made Podcast. I might have mentioned it before. He put out this really good article that kind of revolves around uh human sacrifice, and some of the rituals that would take place in places like Papua New Guinea, that kind of reenact um things like creation and death. And you know, they're rather horrific, uh and they have to do with very young people, um and the crushing weight of logs. And it seems like there's he also references, like, you know, the Bible and the Romans battle against the Carthaginians, um who were apparently supposedly uh dropping off their children, not at school, but at a giant burning effigy. And the Romans, I guess, probably, you know, all wars are resource and economic wars, but part of the reason may have been because of that type of sacrifice. And it seems like uh it seems like what I've heard about the story of Jesus was that his his self-sacrifice was an attempt to stop the the rampant human sacrifice. I guess that was going on all the time back in those periods, because you know, you had, you know, you had your civilization, your religion, and your gods, and you were extremely close to the earth and its weather systems, um and the spiritual powers that uh you believe controlled these things wanted blood. And so you would you would go to war and capture uh you know, war slaves, and give them over to the spiritual powers. And doesn't sound like a great deal. It doesn't sound like a great deal to me, especially if you were one of those you know, captured people, or even if you know, you were the firstborn of some royal family, and they were like, "Hey, drink this. Come over here."
Good.
Huh? Grape?
Good.
Sorry.
It's so good.
You dropped your grape?
Yeah.
It's okay. You got another one right there.
No.
Okay. Someone dropped her grape.
No.
Oh, Daddy will fix it for you. Don't worry, sweetheart. So, there we go. Jeremy's back.
Okay, we got the grape. So, Epstein files were released, and it seems a bit like you can hear rolling thunder on the edge of the plains, and the rolling thunder isn't simply a storm that'll pass, but a conflagration that will sweep our civilization. And I don't know, maybe the power structures I feel like have done enormous, and uh, the subjugation of the normal people. It almost feels like it's absolutely complete in a lot of ways. And it almost feels like it's all a big joke. Like they're just laughing at us, right? And all we can do is just talk, you know, just run our yaps about what we think is happening, without taking any sort of action. And my the gut, I think the gut reaction of a lot of people, especially people like me who are fathers, and especially fathers of little girls, and is you
Buying
want to
ammunition.
you want to pick up the nearest firearm and create a posse, and go to the castle and lay siege. That's that is the correct response. That is the correct response. You know, and it has been for fucking millions of years, probably. Excuse my language. Sorry, sweetheart. But when I think it, it, when I think about the logistics, when you think about the hard logistics of enacting lamppost justice, um, it almost seems it almost seems impossible, because if the people who are accused of these horrible crimes really are the people that we're talking about, they're at a uh social and economic layer that is like beyond could be beyond comprehension, with the layers of security that they can wrap themselves in. And so you would never be able to touch these people, right? Maybe maybe you would be able to get one or two, but as soon as that's out into the public awareness, all those people would just jump in their helicopters and run somewhere, and you don't have a helicopter, and you're not going to be able to chase them. So it's like, all right, what to do in the hope the hopelessness I feel, or that some people expound. I don't necessarily feel hopelessness. Um, can make you think of, like, okay, is the is the is the justice, is the deserving justice, does that come in the form of something like Ragnarok, or the flipping of a cycle like the Kali Yuga? Is that what these are? These are these are justices enacted through the wrath of God, and uh we all pay. Like, we're all somehow implicit because of inaction. I've heard it so many times that um uh you know, God or whoever, he loves the one who takes action, and he despises the one who does not. You know, the coward is not blessed, even though he may be long lived. He lives in a world of shame. But the one who takes action, though he may die in the process, you know, he somehow lives forever. So I'll give it over to you.
You know, brother, I think all the things you're saying is like really on point. And I agree. Action is required. I think the reason we're not ready for action yet is we need a critical mass. In other words, all the people need to be supporting. Everybody needs to be aware of the seriousness of the dilemma, right? So in a sense, at the moment, action is being taken, right? Action is being taken by putting pressure on the FBI, by putting pressure on the government, by putting pressure on, you know, people like us. We've been talking about these black magician cabals for like years now, and the evil nonsense that they're up to with children and how they've rewritten our history and how they've done this and they do this. And in the beginning, 3 years ago, it might have seemed a bit more fringe. When I was talking about, you know, that they're going to use viruses and to take away our rights, like in 2010, even my friends that were like very awake and conscious were like, dude, you're going too far, like conspiracy theory. I was like, come on, man. You know, we saw it happen, 9 years later. And the fact that this is coming out is positive, but we also need to be recognizing the fact that there is a counterintelligence probe. They want us talking about the past. They want to talking about Epstein. Who is Epstein? He's some stupid idiot. Well, he's not that stupid, but he makes an idiot of all of us by making an idiot of himself, right? And he was just like, you know, the general of the military, and the general passed away and the next general gets promoted. You don't remove the military by removing a general, right? This has got to happen through this has got to happen through a serious namaste, dear brother. Namaste. Hope you're well. We've got Zerilat joining us in here. This has got to happen through a serious recognition of the fact that they want us talking about him, but actually what we need to look at is there are, I believe, some can't say millions, some can't say hundreds of thousands of documents. Some people say that the most relevant documents are like 20,000 documents, 6,000, 3,000 documents. Anyway, there's a treasure trove of evidence connecting Epstein to all the powerful people around the world, all the powerful politicians, all the powerful people in industry and corporations, everybody who's a billionaire, everybody who's in powerful positions with regards to military, the courts, judges, police commissioners, all of these people, celebrities, they're all connected to this one guy. And it's very clear that he was part of something much bigger than himself, right? And there's even a lot of revelation about the occult stuff that he was into and the occult practices that he was doing and the occult fraternity that he was creating, and he was bringing people into his secret occult cabals. And we need to recognize just how big this thing is. When a critical mass gets achieved, I think we will end up marching on the castle. I think that's the next step. I think first we need to know everybody. You see, here is the danger. There are still enough brainwashed people out there that if dedicated people marched on the castle, they could use propaganda to make the rest of the people that aren't so bright think that those people were criminals and that they had a bad agenda, right? We've seen this happen before, right? And they could stage a false flag, something that goes wrong, right? Let me give you an example. a group of well-meaning people storm on the White House, and the cabal decides to assassinate everybody in the White House and blame those people, right? And nobody knows it happened. It was staged a coup and at that point, now all of those people are seen as bad people that just were out for revenge, and now the whole movement is crushed. We need to be in a place where enough people in the civilization understand what's going on. And so I think we're in an information war at the moment. And I think what you said about these Ragnarok and Armageddon, or what the Kalki, you see, what does Kalki represent? Kalki represents the ages, moving from the age of Kali, from the Yuga of Kali, and these are great cycles, into the Yuga of light, right? And the Ragnarok is the same. This terrible war that happens is a purification to rid the world of corruption. Armageddon, terrible war that comes to rid the world of corruption. I think things have to get so corrupt up to a point where humanity will no longer take it. And that's when there's a war. And I think we're moving towards that point. And that happens when a critical mass decides no. And there are enough people aware of what's going on so that the other people cannot be weaponized against the people standing up for humanity, because that's the danger. 25% of humanity stands up for humanity, and they use 75% to demonize that 25% and send them to concentration camps. Example. And that's not a productive end. And now they can use that propaganda to get away with the worst stuff they want to do. So I think like strategy is important. Like you're a soldier, right? So you understand the importance of strategy. Don't go into a war unless you're going to win it. So pick your fight carefully, pick your moment, pick how you're going to go into it. Make sure you got your team ready and that the team is trained and, you got the gear you need. Don't just rush off gung-ho like, woo, and so I think we're in an early stage, and just getting back to the whole story of like Armageddon, Ragnarok, Kali Yuga, these are cosmic ages that happen. But these cosmic ages play themselves out through the drama of humanity's civilization, right? So we are vibrationally picking up the shifts in the cosmos. And so we are like acting out like we think free will is completely free, but how free is free will if we have to act out these cosmic ages? You with me? like free will is pretty free until you realize that you have no choice but to go around the cycle of the yugas and play your role as you have to play it. You have to choose a side. You have to end up getting to that point. And I think we are at an important point of awakening. But I think that this whole Epstein story has been weaponized against us. Instead of us focusing on the fact that there is a huge cabal, there are 8 million children being disappeared every year. Of those 8 million children, there must be significant millions of children that are being sold to pharmaceutical corporations with underground bases in Antarctica or in ships, wherever, where they are doing military testing, scientific testing, learning how to put their technology gadgets into people's bodies and control people's brains, or create new viruses or create new vaccines that can rewrite our genetics. I think there's genetic research being done. I think they're trying to create hybrid race of whoever these string pullers are backstage, these spiritual beings that are manipulating many of our powerful people that seem to be in some way like scaled up to be shape changers, shape shifters, right? And the technology that's being employed now so that we can't see them shape shifting. What do you think 5G is? What do you think all the blue light is? It affects your senses, right? In the old time, we were starting to notice all these shapeshifters around us, and now we're starting to get like pulled away. So I think all of these things are like an important part of our recognition. And like you say, we are at a point where we have to pull together. And morality, I think that's an important thing to focus on. I think we are having our morality taken from us, and morality and ethics are two different things. Ethics is a logical way to behave, of doing what is right. Morality is instinctive and intuitive, just to do. A woman is moral. A woman has a moral compass with regards to her child, right? A man has an ethical compass with regards to how he interacts in the world. His ethical compass is either broken or fixed. He goes out and he decides, I'm not going to do that because I made a promise to John. I'm going to honor my word. I'm a man of my word. It's a logical thing. The woman is like, she just can't fight against her feelings. And her feelings are so like, no, I've got to sacrifice myself for this child, right? And so this masculine and feminine interplay that they are trying to brainwash us with is a part of hiding the differences between morality and ethics, so that they lock us into a system of ethics and deny morality, where morality is not something we can learn or change. Morality is the product of our pasts. If we've been having positive actions in the past and doing things that are in alignment with the forces of life, then we would have a moral compass. If we have been a liar, a cheater, and a narcissist in our past, then that's what our moral compass will become. Ethics is something that we can be brainwashed into, and we can be taught, right? We can be taught right from wrong and learn an ethical set of rules, like religion, for example. And those ethical rules might say, like the Christian religion said, it's okay to beat your slaves as long as you don't murder them, right? As long as your slaves recover, you didn't sin. That's ethics for you. So suddenly slavery is good to go. But on a moral compass, is slavery okay? No. Little children understand that really clearly, right? If you stand in front of a tiny little child with an animal and you say, I'm going to do these bad things to this animal, that child might cry, right? That's their moral compass, recognizing that empathy. I wouldn't want you to do that to me. Why would you do that to that? And so the empathy, the compassion, these are all part of a moral compass. And I think this brings us to like that important part of the conversation, like why do we have to do positive actions?
So, I got something. You guys can hear me? Yep. Yes? I think you can hear me. Okay.
Yes. Sorry,
okay, good. Right. There were two things that were coming to mind. The most immediate with what you were just saying is that's why the natural law conversation, I think, is most important, right? Because like when you think about government, which, you know, is what everybody's depending on for all aspects of this level of society, morality is a religious question, and religious freedom means that you can't have a religious basis for your law. So the natural law discussion is about the secular discussion of morality. So that way you're pulling from something that doesn't have to source a scripture to make sense to you. All these Christians, they get in a panic because morality falls out the window, and the only thing they can do is figure out how to put up the 10 Commandments in a public fucking place. And then that's their answer, because they can't fucking write. Like, we have an ethics committee in Washington. We don't have a moral committee in Washington, right? How do you do that? So, and then the other thing I wanted to respond to is the address of the darkness, the evil of the whole thing, right? Like, this is the statement of things are not worse than you think. They are worse than you can think. Unless you've been paying attention forever and paying attention to the darkness because you cared very much about vanquishing evil. Considering how my life has been an avoidance of Jeffrey Epstein's world. When I was a child, I said no to this world. Look at this. He has had his fingers in the money movings of literally everything in the West and a handful of things in the fucking East. For the big them. Sired by two of the members of the 13 bloodlines and in corroboration with pretty much all of them. His agenda is really just the management of their agenda. You want to do this game? You want to fucking feel good about this? Then be a real warrior. I am Zeralath Eternal, Carpathian who fights Sumerian draconian vampires for a living. This has been my life. Jeffrey Epstein has been my mortal enemy, and I've been tracking him down ever since I woke up, not knowing who the fuck he was. Right? These are the monsters, and there's a power to defeat them that we don't fucking understand. But when you're smart enough, you start to see where your power might lie. I'm looking through the Epstein files, and just last night, I'm searching the files for my own town. Why? Because I live in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's a big deal, old money town. The two names in question, Rockefeller, Rothschild, both own major estates and do their various kinds of banking here in Connecticut. Like, because they have the Swiss Bank in Connecticut, not New York. UBS Warburg, which was here. And I don't know where the BIS has a headquarters, if it has a headquarters in Connecticut, but UBS Warburg used to be the biggest fucking corporation in Stamford, Connecticut. So anyway, I found money transfers from downtown Greenwich fucking bank, to Ghislaine Maxwell, happening in my town, in my backyard. I'm finding massage parlor information where no doubt he was hunting victims. Right in my fucking area, not in my town, but right in the fucking, county. Right? There is so much local shit that you can go do and go fucking work from the ground up as you yourself, bringing that to the table. If you're an anarchist, just put it out in the world and let, the fucking forces of fate do it. Right? If you fucking believe in the system, go cooperate with a cop you trust. We are vampire hunters. Fucking act like it.
What do you think, Totri?
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset to have, because there's power available to us that I think is also beyond our comprehension as like as human beings. Like we're supposed to be here. Like we're an integral part of this world. You ever watch like squirrels in the trees, and their unquestioned confidence in jumping from branch to branch? You ever see squirrels just launch themselves? Like, when's the last time you had confidence like that? You just had that life affirming motivation to launch yourself at something, right? That's a good thing to cultivate, and it builds upon itself. And I think it's pretty clear that the more good the more good, and the closer you are aligned with reality, the more help you have. And help comes in all different ways. And the affirmation that you're on the right path will probably not be luxury items, enormous status on the world stage, multiple properties and estates in different countries. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be something like local renown for being a bright spot of like golden light in the darkness that attracts people who are suffering. Something like that. You know what I mean? Because okay. If you want to gain worldly power, involve yourself in the Epstein network. Make yourself available. And deliver yourself to the darkness. You will gain cunning and wisdom and material. And you will begin to build your pyramid. However, the pact is your ultimate demise in horrifying ways, because the powers that you make a pact with, they don't want your success. They don't care about your success. They care about how much they can use you to implement suffering. And the scale of your abominations is what they're after, right? And this these ideas of like Ragnarok and the end of and apocalypses, like these are these ultimate ends, because those powers of darkness, they want the ultimate destruction. Like if God is that way and the darkness is this way, how far apart can those things get? Like how dark can it get? Right? Like keep going. Whatever's at the end of that is radiating forward, and its imperative is what you're making a pact with. And that imperative is ultimate destruction. So when you start to lean that way, that's what you're headed towards. Your ultimate destruction. So these power structures of worldly power are always destined to collapse. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally, brother. Totally.
Yeah.
And are you still carrying on? Don't let me interrupt you.
It's just so the point I want to make is that if you go the other way, if you align yourself with the other direction, it's ultimate life. But what is ultimate life? It doesn't look like material possessions. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like being the biggest thing in the world. Okay, some of the best, some of the people that I know that are the most aligned with reality and good are the most are just the most humble people. You know what I mean? Like not too many people know them, but they're they're good. They're great. You know, they're doing good things. They're they're writing amazing books or making amazing art, or
No.
creating amazing social circles. Anyways,
No.
Yeah, brother. I think you bring a beautiful thing to the table, being on the earth, being of the earth, being for the earth is not being more. In fact, this is a really interesting point, the idea of ethics and morality. I want to draw a point that ties us to what your point is you're making about certain kind of people, right? And morality and ethics, and just how the morality and the ethics play into this game, and then how that fits into these cycles, right? And why it's important. You see, I think morality isn't necessarily good. Morality can be bad, right? It can be immoral. Our moral compass is when one has a good sense of morality, and one's morality is pure, then one is in alignment with life and the forces of life. But before we can look at that, like if you consider the occult, because we speak from the terms of the occult, in terms of the occult, generally speaking, we have two different ways of interacting in the occult spheres. We can be invocative or evocative. The invocation is the spells of the wizards, right? The spells of the magi and the witches. The evocative experience are the conscious shifting, transformative experiences of the shaman or the tantraman, and these are evocation. And an evocation is something that comes from within and isn't controlled and controls you. An invocation is something that comes from the outside, and it's logos born, logic, and it pushes in to control the inner. So you either have the outside controlling the inner, or you have the inner controlling the outside. A shaman doesn't do a spell. A shaman goes into a trance and allows the inner, the guides, which are the most inside part of us, to express through our ancestral connection, which is in the highest alignment with our bloodline, right? Through us, and that becomes the power that moves. Where a magician would do a very different kind of a process. They would align with the planets, stars, and choose this and do this, and use these invocations in order to change things, and use various different particular magical sigils. The shaman is a very different kettle of fish. It's very much on the earth, coming forth from the earth, instead of putting into the earth. The shaman taps with what's in the earth already and brings it out. The magician puts into the earth. And so there's no better or worse way. So ethics is about, look at the etymology. Eth means at. At means boundary. The boundary of that, if that thing is at that point, at me, means it's not at something else. It means it's a specific boundary, which means everything else is excluded. It's an exclusive reality. So ethics is exclusive. Now, invocation is exclusive, right? You're invoking one particular thing into one point, and that's exclusively what you're looking for. So it's about excluding all the things you don't want so that you can get what you want. Now, that's where the word at, aleph tav, coming from the Phoenician, which is basically the alpha and the omega, which creates a definition between one thing and another thing. It's based upon the intellect. It's based upon rationalism. To ration is to the ions. You want to ratify the boundaries between ions. This is matter. We're talking about scales of different scales of matter. Looking at invocation, we're talking about more all morality. You want to bring more all through. So tantric is invoking, is evocation, which is tantra, is about bringing everything together, just more of it, just allow it to just erupt through you in an unknown way, as opposed to separating everything out and just taking the bit that you want. Both achieve the same point, both achieve the same purpose, the same point. So the morality is something which has been programmed by the media. They have programmed our morality through our Hollywood films, through watching a film where the good guy does bad things or the bad guy's a good guy, right? The one doing bad things becomes a good guy in your film. They're tuning your inner morality. They tune our ethics by sending us to school. They go to school to pollute our ethics, and they give us entertainment to affect our morals, because our emotional field is connected to our morals, and our logical, logos, rational, mental, intellectual field is based upon our ethics. And so these two are at war within us. They've created this disassociation between these two elements so that we mix them up and we can't really appreciate the difference. But when we start to realize that these two forces are within us, we can start to see the dissidence between the two and notice how they produce a dissident effect. For example, what we're learning rationally doesn't always make sense on the emotional plane. And so they've taught us in schools to repress our emotions. Why? Because it's going to get in the way. Forget the emotions, just be rational. But then they offer us so much entertainment to program our emotions so that we become blind to our own morality and follow their program of ethics, which we are then taught to call morality, right? Word games. And this is how they cast their black magic spells over us, sort of put us into a point of becoming sort of disconnected from our own sense of heart and purpose. Now, these things are important to understand, because when we look at the energetic design of humanity and matter, we are now taught to rationalize that we are all separate. We are separate, but we're not separate. We are all connected. We are all sharing of emotion, sharing a field of energy of life force. And in that field of life force, morality is being programmed into us. What does this mean? It means that if I choose to align myself with the forces of life and try to promote the values of life, then I will be in tune with a positive line of force. That positive line force will bring joy to me, because life is a joyous experience. And the more I bring joy into myself, the less space there will be for fear. My fear is how they control us, because this takes away your joy. It disconnects you from the forces of life. And when you're afraid, you do bad things because you're afraid, right? Everybody who does a bad thing, normally, when you look underneath all the layers, there's some fear being repressed. Start repressing fear, you'll become a sociopath, a narcissist, and do horrible things, because deep down, what is a narcissist? A narcissist is someone that's afraid of being seen for what they are. They're so afraid. That's why they act out what they do. So these current need to be the best that we can be is, A, you're going to choose between creating suffering in your life or joy and peace in your life. This is a simple choice. We align ourselves with the forces of life. We align ourselves with the forces of joy. And we generate as much joy for other people as we can. And in the process of generating joy for other people, we generate joy for ourselves. It's like Emmanuel, Jesus was talking about how you've got to go and help other people and do good things. Why? Well, you feel pretty damn good about yourself when you do. You know what happens when you feel good about yourself? You feel inspired to do better, more good things. And that brings you to the point of that becomes a wheel that turns of its own accord. And as it turns, the more you broadcast that frequency out, now your neighbors start doing good. And the more everybody starts doing, less people are suffering. And we're undermining the suffering. There's the power. There is the power we have. We have the power to transform who we are, how we interact with the world, how we feel about ourselves, and how we inspire those around us. And if we can use positive forces and positive joy-affirming life force to make the other people around us get a moment, or help them to recognize that within themselves, they will become ambassadors, and we will all become ambassadors for this flame of joy of life, which is love. And the more we do it, the less we suffer. Even suffering becomes easy if you're in a state of joy, if you're in a state of love, because it's like, it's no big deal. I've got my friends, I've got my people around me, I'll get through this. But if you're alone and you don't have love and you don't have life, then what have you got? And I think this is what they're taking away from us. They're trying to separate us. They're trying to separate us from our joy, separate us from our love, and they use fear. This is why the whole Epstein circus is a fearing BS nonsense campaign. But they do that so that you don't look at it, because we're supposed to look at it. We're supposed to understand it. It's like saying, "Ooh, I cut myself. I'm too afraid to look." Oh, you're too afraid to look. Well, me, I'm not. I cut myself. You know what? I'm going to open up the wound. I'm going to put salt in it. I'm going to scrape it out with the salt. I'm going to put antiseptics in it. Yeah, I know it burns like hell. I'm going to clean that wound up. And you know what I'm going to do every day? I'm going to check the wound to make sure it's okay. It's not infected. So if you want an infection, don't look at your wound. If you don't want an infection, nurse your wound. This is a wound of humanity that needs to be nursed. Fear just causes us to pretend there isn't a wound. And guess what happens to wounds that are pretended that they aren't there? They might go septic.
We
So I
can't let
think
them. We can't let them forget. Like when you were saying, like people going to the White House. Oh yeah, we need people to go to the White House, not with the pitchforks and torches, but with their voices saying, "Hey, what the hell is going on here? I don't give a shit about the Dow. I want to know about the network and who's involved." And don't let them forget. I think people have still gotten late. I think people have gotten lazy on COVID. When the network got together and was like, okay, we're gonna induce mass psychosis and this fear that you're talking about. And then everyone went insane for like 5 years. Right? But it's okay now. We're okay now. That's not gonna happen again. Hey, I think the other gentleman wanted to say something.
Hey, thanks, man. I've only got a couple minutes left, so this is going to be my last thing. So, yeah, you were talking a little bit about, like, with the morality thing, and it made me think about, like, okay, so at this point on the internet conversation, Jungian shadow work has been discussed ad nauseum for the newly interested in a better way of thinking and dealing with your problems and yada, 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 right? And so there's levels that you can take that. I am such a lover of the badass. I'm such a lover of the, quote, anti-hero. That big redemption arc where the guy who was obviously the bigger threat than the hero, now he's on your side. Now he fights for your cause. He's found redemption, and he's paying the price of redemption. He didn't just say, forgive me. He had to fucking betray the shared enemy and fight the shared enemy side by side. And you get a beautiful feeling out of that, right? I have loved, at the very least, for the character developmental performance. You can mock the films themselves all you want, but the Venom trilogy, as far as a amazing template for especially if you're going to be a warrior, if you're going to be capable of violence to do the right thing, you've got this savage, cannibalistic demon in your fucking ear who is kind of like almost like your son as a teenager, kind of like egging you on to be impressive because you're kind of a lame dad, right? That's like stop being lame, be cool, because I want to be cool and I'm parasitically attached to you. And it's going to happen this way. And oh, also, I'm hungry. Can I eat a human being? Right? And so you get into like, all right, he's got an appetite problem, but he's like a lion chasing down a hyena, right? He wants to eat bad guys, right? And we unfortunately, you look at the Jeffrey Epstein situation, we're begging for the cops to go eat some bad guy because we're cowards, we don't want to do it ourselves, or we don't want to be charged for murder because we have to hold ourselves to those standards, agreeably so, right? And you don't want to get your narratives mixed up, because when you try to apply anything, like whether it be figuratively or literally in the real world, don't like watch the Venom movies and then hope that the government shits black goo in your fucking veins. All right? It's going to be a bad time, I guarantee it. Anyway, that's going to be my last statements. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm pulling into work in about 5 minutes here.
Good.
Hey, thanks for jumping on, man.
Father.
Yeah. So I think like there's a lot of like really good points being brought up here. So we'll wait until. Are you ready?
Someone needed to inform me about a unicorn.
A unicorn.
Yeah, unicorn. We know what unicorns
A
are now.
unique horn.
No, there you go. I didn't get a chance. But who was the other gentleman that hopped on there?
Zerilat.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to have him on again. I appreciate his energy. Yeah, I I'm not, obviously I have morality and ethics and a strong, I mean, the uh I think what's good about the Epstein files is that if any good can come of it, it strikes it directly to the heart of if you love your children or not. Because I think it's pretty obvious the you know the reason that children are sought out for abominations is because they are extremely close to the source from which they came. And unlike the elderly who are about to pass back over to that other side, the children have the momentum of fresh life e- exploding forward into the world, you know. Uh and there that it's energy. It's the most amount of energy, of potential energy, right? And so the energy is harvested through their corruption it's for the gain of someone else. You know, um that's why they do it. Instead of instead of a father or parent pouring what they are into their child to give them uh the greatest the tool the best tools and weapons to confront the world. That's the life affirming. That's the alignment with the life force that you were talking about earlier. So if what are the file, what is the network associated with in the psychosphere, right? It's associated with the corruption of children. It's inseparable now. You say Epstein, people are like the corruption of children, right? You go a level higher, oh, there's a network that's associated with the corruption of children. The 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 next level is the network takes it takes from you for themselves. They see you, they treat you as slaves. We're not in actual iron shackles, right? We're not in actual iron shackles. The shackles, the shackle has grown big enough to where it encompasses us and it's invisible. And they create it and they profit from it. So when you wake up to that, uh now you have more room to maneuver. Like gaining awareness isn't it isn't a constriction of movement, right? It allows you to move more. And movement isn't always necessarily physical, but it's the physical and the mental are should be 100% aligned. That's why you should have a movement practice. You got to move, and you got to move in unique ways. That's why the martial arts component comes in to our conversation, you and me. I sent you that video the other day of me messing around with my sword. It's a sword. It's a machete, but it's a sword. And that flow, that's it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. It's a very masculine thing to do. Okay. It's learning to dance is great. Learning to dance with a weapon, it's even better. Because the weapon is aligned is the weapon is
extension.
against the dark. The weapon is against the darkness. Okay. And the point of it pierces that heart of darkness every time you move with it. The mental sphere. Oh, we have someone else. Introduce yourself before I get lost in my ramblings, please.
Hey, what's up,
Good day,
guys? What's up,
Shinobi.
Tall Tree? I'm just at work at the minute, so I'm probably going to be like dipping in and out just every now and again, or just pop in with something. It's one of the stakes. You guys talking about the Epstein files. I've been thinking, like with the names of events and people and stuff, it can really tell a bigger story. And it's just occurred to me looking into the names of Epstein. Obviously, a Steen or a Stein means place, I believe. And EP sort of signals to me epicenter or electric pulse. It's like the central point of what's going on. But also, Ghislaine Maxwell, if you look at the well as the depths or the water or the emotions, the maximum well of our emotions are being like our subconscious is being kind of played by them. And this obviously there's Ghislaine as well, which is G slain. The G would be the internal guide or gnosis. It's like this is what happens with the news. It's like a noose. It pulls us apart in all directions, but this information coming out now is very necessary. It's people have known about it for a while. It's not new, but it's part of the collective conscious or the subconscious coming up from the well, and it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But a lot of people haven't done the inner work, so it's kind of a rude awakening. Like it should be anyway, because 2020 was a catalyst for a lot of people. This is yet another one. So yeah, I just wanted to point out there that if you look into like the names etymology, it can kind of tell a bigger picture. So Epstein, there's more to be looked into with that, but it's kind of the epicenter of the place. And Ghislaine Maxwell, G Slane Maxwell, they're trying to. This is further of the projecting fear, which is Project Bluebeam, which covers. It's like the top of the pyramid. Project Bluebeam. The last hand they have is the Deus Ex Machina, the God in the Machine, which may well be this year. Who knows? But there's talk of what's the word, disclosure and stuff. But yeah, I thought I'd just throw that out there. And yeah, nice to meet you, Big Tree.
No, that was excellent, dude. Yeah, you have absolutely changed, or not changed my mind, but brought new awareness with the breakdown of those words 100%, because that's how it works. That's how the black magicians work. Like they have a tradition and culture of black magic that goes back thousands of years, and it's no mistake that these people with their names are in the positions that they're at. It's calculated, it's prophesized. and you're 100% right. And I think that the way this information was put out there is probably directly calculated for the level of awareness that the public at large is at. I don't deal with a lot of people in my life. Like right now, I deal with my family, and I deal with the store clerk, and I deal with some other people at my child's activities, and my neighbors. But it's extremely rare that I'm in a position where I can actually kind of like dig into somebody a little bit about what they know about things. And when I do get to do that, I often am surprised at the depth of understanding. But I also know that, the majority of people are simply just trying to live their lives, and really don't want to concern themselves with something as horrific as the types of things that we're talking about here. But the cycle doesn't care about that. The hurricane will roll over you and drown your house in a watery conflagration, no matter what you think or what you believe.
Whether you can swim or not.
Whether you can swim or not, it is coming. You can, and hopefully you have enough awareness to move out of the way or do something about it, like build a house out of concrete in the shape of an egg.
Keep a raft in your backyard.
Yeah. So events wash over us, and that's a part of life. That's a part of living in this reality. Is we're no different than the little pill bugs that live in the soil, that are roasted alive by a forest fire from a lightning strike. We're different. We're very much different, but we're also kind of like in the same boat. We all live on planet Earth and are subject to her cycles. However, there does seem to be something specifically unique to humans where we can again expand our awareness enough to have some more options, right? Apparently we can actually leave the surface of the planet. I'm not sure. I haven't been to the edge of the earth like that. But that's pretty astounding. That's pretty awareness expanding.
What are you talking about specifically?
What am I talking about specifically?
Yeah, by
I'm sorry, you kind of glitched out there for a second.
no, I was saying, what do you mean specifically when you say we can leave the Earth or go to the edge of the Earth? Like exactly what?
Yeah, like going to the moon, or launching satellites into space, or taking a Tesla returnable robot, returnable rocket, to the edge of the atmosphere, and back, right? you know about the planets. You can, if you're at a certain level, and I get this from the older videos that you've made. You can hear the planets singing. You can experience their influence in a very real way. You can sit in meditation and probably commune with these sorts of things. And then you can also spend hundreds or thousands of years building rocket ships to send very highly sophisticated pieces of metal past Saturn, and take a picture of the of that weird geometric design at the northern polar axis of the planet. What is that thing?
I can tell you what I think about that.
Yeah.
Before we jump onto that, before we jump on, can we go on to the stuff that was said before we change the subject just for a minute? What was it that you were saying a few minutes ago? Sort of lost the flow. There was something important you were saying.
Oh man. I was talking about
awareness and the earth and our ability to shift. I think what's been taken from us primarily, and I won't be long with this monologue, Shinobi, I'll be quick. I think what's been taken away from us is the fact that we are interdimensionally connected to each other, and that we are bound by love, one large being, all breathing the same air, feeling the same emotions, and that we are part of a hyper multidimensional universe that is manifesting through this field of consciousness that we all share, and we have been separatized. We've been fooled into believing that we are just separate little droplets of water. Yes, we are, but we're part of one rain falling from the sky, and that one rain came from one cloud. And guess what? It's going to go into one river, one lake, one ocean. So as separate as we seem, we come from a unity, and we return to unity. And I think that the underlying concept there is that we are part of something much bigger, and this earth that we think it is isn't what we think it is. Like the word earth, to air is human, to earth, right? To earth yourself is to plug yourself in. And so we come to earth to make mistakes. And I think that making mistakes has been demonized in our schooling system in order to teach us ethics, right? Ethics is about not making mistakes. But in life, we err. And being of the earth means we will make mistakes, because the earthly garb that we wear is heavy, and it responds to cold, it responds to harshness, it responds to pain. And so we become afraid, and when we become afraid, we start to lose our integrity. We fray at the edges, right? And we start to become disassociated from who we are, from each other. And so being afraid means we lose that common thread, the bindings of thread that puts us all into a fabric, and that we are part of a fabric of consciousness that's being frayed into disassociative little pockets of narcissistic, sociopathically controlled by those that are causing the fear. And I think that is the key. The fact that they need to make us afraid should be a powerful inspiration tool to all of us to recognize and realize that how weak they are, like a schoolyard bully. They need to make you afraid, because if they don't, then they will become insignificant. And like all schoolyard bullies, the moment you step up and put them in their place, right, that's the end of their campaign. Sorry, Shinobi, you were going to say about the North Pole.
No, you brought up some really interesting stuff there, about the field as well, and kind of what I sense is going on is kind of the ignorance of water, the ignorance of the field, and this ties into the whole atomization. They want us to sort of be in the, first of all, it's the 1% ruling us, and that 1% is the the atom or the physical. The 99 is us, which is the infinite potential, the wave, right? And the atom is a tomb. They want us to think this realm is a tomb. They want us to reject the mother, like they've rejected the matter, this realm. Whereas really, it's a womb. It's a place to grow. And like the bully would scapegoat somebody that stands up to them, as has done to me many times in school. They're trying to do that to us. They're trying to sort of they're trying to demonize us and tell us that we're the problem. We're the problem for their mistakes. This ties into the whole story, Big Tree, you mentioned with Christ dying and stuff and sacrificing himself, perhaps, but also perhaps he was just killed and they've put that guilt onto us, because there is a huge guilt trap, even with birth and so much stuff to affect our stomachs, where our second brain is, perhaps our intuition as well. And I think that what's happened just with that briefly is that he was killed, a great man. We should all attain to be like him, to be healers, to call out the evil, and that to say he died for our sins or died for us is kind of scapegoating and putting that guilt on us. But I just want to say with Saturn and the North Pole, because I did think for a while as well that the North Pole shows the evil of Saturn, the hex, Satan, as many like to call it. But what I've found is that also, nature doesn't have straight lines. Nature moves in spirals. But if you look into easy water, exclusion zone water, or like fresh spring water, this imagination, this like the magic, water and magic are interchangeable. Water is magic, is the matter, is the mother, is the womb in which we're in. There's magic everywhere. It's been taken from us. It's been siphoned from us via gaslighting. If you want to like use the sort of visualization of alchemy and extracting the oil from a plant, the Christos has been extracted from us, the Sophia, the wisdom extracted, and it's been used and manipulated against us. So magic's been demonized the same way water and the feminine, the subconscious, the deep thought thinking, the unseen, which is the 99%, has all been demonized. And the North Pole of Saturn, whether it is that shape or not, who's to say, because we only get images from NASA. But if it is true, that would align with magnetic north, the hexagram being a symbol for fresh water. Also, Saturn has 274 moons, which equals the 13, and we've been kind of moved away from the 13-month calendar. Saturn's to do with boundaries and stuff, and water is a boundary. So I just wanted to bring that up because people don't really know that the hexagram, they know it's a symbol for magic, but Saturn's been demonized and people think it's Satan and stuff, but really it's just to do with boundaries and time and space, which are essential for our perception. And this is how the script has been flipped. And Franklin, you were talking about, I'm not sure who was talking about it, but about our story or our light or our louche. It's like, Franklin, I think it might have been you, like this story, this universal story in which we're in now called Earth. We all have our own individual story, our own individual store of energy, our own individual narrative, but also we're in a collective narrative too. And it's kind of like a fractal. And as within, so without. We have our internal systems, and then the systems outside of us as well. But when we step inside and start recognizing these symbols, the etymology, the language, the script on the outside world, we'll be able to read our own story. And this story, the store of energy, is our DNA, the spiral, the stairways of the lighthouse, which is the light is found at the top, which isn't, it's our own frequency. It's not a higher or lower frequency. It's just our own personal core message, which is in the water, through the water. This is why I found it's important to understand water and the ways of the water and how water's been demonized, because you have to demonize the water to demonize magic. And if we're scared of magic and pushed away from that 99% pure waveform potential, it's going to be weaponized against us. But right now we're at a bridge where we're seeing the illusion dissolve, and this is happening internally as well as externally. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more darkness emerging on the outside world as we start alchemizing it internally, like a few of us have been doing, because when we start entering that vibration, more and more people will start vibrating. And I think, yeah, what's going on internally is also in the external world, in a way. Not that we're to blame for the problems that are going on in the world, because that is another guilt thing I see, but that it's just the collective subconscious emerging. And it's dark. It's like me and Franklin were talking the other day about death and Lethe, one of the rivers of the underworld. When you die, people want to drink from that river to forget, because so much guilt and stuff has been put on us. This is why from birth there's so much guilt, so that we just want to forget. And this is why people turn to technology and are glued to a screen to forget, so that the blue light just takes that essence, so that they're just comfortably numb. And unfortunately, a lot of people have fallen into that trap. So yeah, I'll just leave it there, but I would highly recommend to you look into structured water, 4-phase water, or easy water. It's a hexagram, and yeah, that's the water which coats our DNA. Like, our DNA is light in water, and that water atomically, I think it's like a hexagram. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah, good stuff, man. And let's not forget that our bodies consist of a large amount of water as well. And there's probably something to being able to structure the water that's in our bodies simply through the power of our minds. And I also want to say that, like, what Franklin was bringing up about us being connected is that, like, we can't forget that our bodies and our brains and every organ and part of us emit an electromagnetic frequency. Like our the pump the our heart is our heart is literally beating because of this energy, and it's emitting, it emits, and it interacts, and it creates a field. We have a field around us. I mean, that's why people get struck by lightning. And this field interacts with the other beings that are around us, and and our fields interact with each other. People talk about vibes, but that's absolutely what it is. Like, we are, as human beings, we are transmitters and receivers. The transmission and the receiving is what these power structures are focused on controlling for their own gain, and, and structuring our internal water with our minds through the understanding of these symbols, and listening to guys like Shinobi, are how you get that power back to yourself. Well, guys, I think my computer is getting low on energy, and we've been talking for about an hour and a half, which is, I believe, the attention span of our audience. So I'm going to log off and get to the day. I appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate the other gentlemen that hopped on. We'll have to get them on again. And this was a fun time. It was a good conversation. I feel energized.
So much love, dear brother. Namaste. Honor having you on, and enjoy your sweet little bundle of joy next to you. And you are so cute.
Say
Thank
hi.
you for your lovely message. Hello. Oh, well, enjoy, brother. And
All right.
and one thing that you said, the children,
Yeah.
that's the focus.
Yeah.
The children. This is all about the children. That's what we need to be taking away from this Epstein nonsense.
Yeah.
That's where our focus needs to be.
You
Big love, dear brother.
you focus on the children. You have some children of your own in this world. You will see how unfriendly everything is to the children, and that it's a problem that needs to change. Okay, guys, I love. Take care.
Big ups, man. See you soon.
Yeah, this whole story with the children. I just want to just dive into that for a moment. I made a note on a thing. It was something that Tall Tree was saying a little bit earlier. I was going to respond to. It got lost in the flow. Was about how the cabals are focusing on our children and how they are using the children for energy. If we want to consider what children represent, they represent the future. So the act magically of controlling the energy of a child and perverting the energy of a child is a metaphor for controlling and perverting the energy of the future. And if these evil cabals can control and pervert the energy of lots of children all around the world, then they can have like little drop effects that will cascade out from each point where they are doing their energy evil work and affect the bloodlines and the families of those children and cascade outwards. This is why it's a global operation. This is why there are 8 million children involved every year. Probably some of those are just naturally, taken by weirdos. But I'd say, let's say a good 6 or 7 million at least children are part of this program, if we want to really look at the big picture. And, I think that this is important for us to recognize. This is why the older people, we are going to fight this war of our future by using the power of the past. And I think this is what's been taken from the younger generation. You see, our ancestors hold the keys. Those older people that are like 70 and 80 years old, they can tell us about how the world used to be long before rock and roll existed. Think about that for a moment, right? Somebody that can tell you. There was a lady living next door to me, and she was such an inspiration in her own way. She was just staunch, morally clean, a good lady. She rest in peace. She left this world some time ago. And, just brushing up against the energy of the older people, noticing the way they look at things different to us. And I think the younger generation is being taught to deny the elders. Well, there's something about the elders, like myself, for example. I'm like a certain level of elder, and they're older people that will know more. But I know what the world was like before the internet. I can see the corruption that the internet has broadcasted. And there are those people that I've learned from that have told me about what life was like in the 50s. I used to have long conversations with, I've always loved speaking to older people. You get such a different perspective. Yeah, Brother Shinobi, did you want to say something?
No, man. No, you carry on. I'll just, I can jump in at any point. But yeah, no, I think you're definitely on something there with it ties into our history as well. Our elders and our ancestors and our our initiation rites as well, cycles of time. There's a huge disorientation, which is disori means just away from light, and that's away from our inner light, which is our internal compass, and that ties into the internal moral compass also. So it's like with places like Tartaria, how they got energy from the aether, use spinning Mercury to defy gravity. All of this seems like ancient technology, but I really don't think it was too long ago. Like, nothing's out of reach, and our connection to our ancestors is linked from via our DNA, and I think that's beautiful because it's nothing external, it's an internal process, and this is why everything's being externalized, and that's the eternal lies of the exterior world. And so yeah, I'll let you carry on, and I'll jump back in a minute. Might have to do some hoovering soon because I'm at work, but I will be around at 3 o'clock if you're around then. But I'm good for like the next 20 minutes or so. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like that's really, the boundaries between the internal and the external is something is really what's happening. This is the fundamental focus of the war against our minds. And it's really important for us to recognize. This is why we are being continually told we have to be objective, right? We have to be objective, objective, objective. So what happens? Men end up objectifying women. Women end up objectifying men, right? What has the man got? What can he provide? What's the point of being with him? Well, he's rich. He's connected to this. He can give me good life, take me on good holidays. My children will be well cared for. Okay, there's an object. There's a reason. What's the woman? Well, she's tits and ass. Yeah, I can show her off in front of my buddies. Look how hot she is. This is my girl. And when I'm feeling lonely at night, there we go. Cuddle, cuddle. Let's go. Let's turn this into a puddle. So, and then get muddled. So I think that this is what happens. And then the media is playing us off against each other, the sexes, because the woman represents the internal. The male represents the external. So the women are being taught to become men. And the men are being emasculated, right? So they want to make us focus on the external, but then we're now supposed to twist the external around back to front. And I've noticed a lot of this becoming like more and more of a pattern, where the idea of the polarity of sexuality is being twisted. And I think that is really the key, where we start to create that dissidence between what's inside of us and what's outside of us. And this is how they keep us in this web of apathy. I think the apathy is not a natural state. And I think that we are all extremely afraid, because they've been fraying at the edges of our mind. And here's an interesting concept. In Afrikaans, the word fray, which comes from Dutch and German, is to French kiss, to fray. So just check this out, right? They mess with us through sexuality. They mess with men. How much propaganda, and I mean emotional propaganda, because there's two kinds of propaganda, right? There's the obvious propaganda, which is political and education and learning. And then there's the subtle propaganda, right? Where they show you a Hollywood film of a guy who's a hero and a womanizer, right? And he doesn't want to have a family. Why would he want to have a family? He had Sheila on Monday, Betty on Tuesday, took the night off on Wednesday, and on Thursday, he had Julia and Annette together. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is 3 a crowd? And this is the kind of propaganda they're putting into our heads. And, somebody was talking to me a while ago about a good friend of theirs who happens to be non-binary or lesbian. I'm not sure exactly. And they were telling me how their friend had said to them that they have to be amorous, right? Amorous, is that the right word? When you don't have one sexual partner, because
Polyamorous.
polyamorous, because in their social circle it's not cool to be monogamous, you know. So there's a lot of really weird crap in the war for the mind, creating disassociation within people, where they are like being pushed into believing. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't smashed the like button, now's a good time to do it. And that's a great way of showing appreciation, so that more people will come and see the show, so that we're not talking to just the initiated, not talking to just, the people that know about it. I think the people that don't know about it need to find it. We need to bring them in. They need to come and listen to it, think for themselves, have a conversation with their people around them and see how they feel. Yeah, brother.
Also, I just wanted to say that as well, if anyone has social media, if they want to chop up any bits of any of the round table to do so somehow, and then they can share it to their socials if they find any particular part of these quite long conversations, which are like 4 hours long sometimes, maybe 5. They find any parts interesting to chop it up and then put it on social media. That's a great way to spread the message as well.
Absolutely. I also think, we are now at a point where what was being said earlier was about what had happened in 2020, and how the 2020 theme has had it like it's a double-edged sword, right? It sort of bullied everybody into a corner on one hand, and on the other hand, it's made a lot of people wake up, where before people were more believing of the pharmaceutical industry and that our governments were out to help us and that they were trying to get good medicine. And then now, years later, the courts have shown us, and the public hearings and, the congressional hearings and, all the various different governments around the world and political people have basically been pushed under the bus because they found information. There were many elements of government and power and within the corporations that were pushing the vaccines that knew that they weren't so safe. They knew that they weren't so effective, but they were still pushing them as if we needed it. And it was about money. And so now that people have realized how much of the money racket is running our world, and how these polluted power structures have pushed these narratives of false doctrines upon us, there are a lot of people striving to wake up. And I think this is why the Epstein files has been turned into such a circus. One of the other things was the cycles. So now we're talking about Epstein. Then we were talking about the Queen's butler. Then we were talking about Gary Glitter. Remember Gary Glitter? Then we were talking about Pizzagate, right? Then we were talking, and every decade there's a new focus. But what stays the same? Children being trafficked, elites making money out of it, controlling networks. This is what's universal and doesn't change. The face changes. And so they have to release this information from time to time, because there are those of us that are genuinely discussing this. And there are real researchers out there bringing out some great information that cause us to actually go, wow. What was this video I watched the other day? Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'll try and find the guy, and I'll mention it in the chat. Come take a look after the show. I'll go and find the video and I'll share it in my chat. I should be able to. It won't be in this live chat. It will be in the responses, the messages that I leave after the video. But I'll send you this last video. It's about the Epstein files, and what's really good about it is the guy doesn't mince his words. He's just like, look, Here's the document, and each document's got a docket number, so you can go and double check and verify the docket numbers, right? And they come from the universal website, which is the government website in the States where all of this stuff's been dumped. So it's an official website. The documents are official, and he just reads through the documents and flashes them on the screen with the number. You can see what it is, and you can decide for yourself what's going on, right? And when you start to see the associations that were working together and how much money was involved, it's a no-brainer. This guy's doing the research for you. All you got to do is go and take a look at this, follow through, pick numbers, go onto the site and test it. Are these legitimate serial numbers for the documents? When you put the serial number in, boom, that document arises, and you can test what this guy's saying and see for yourself, wow, this guy's not making this up. So there are a lot of really good researchers out there that are putting information out on our table. And I think it's really important for us to start paying attention to the fact that they are wanting to turn this into a fear-mongering game. The fact that they want to turn it into a fear-mongering game is tantamount to the fact that they're afraid. You got to understand how scared these guys are, right? We got them. We finally got them. And we don't just got them with conspiracy theories. We don't just got them with people figuring it out. We've got them with evidence. And the evidence is undeniable. And it's official evidence released by the FBI. This isn't some fringe nonsense we're talking. This is like legitimate research done by a legitimate body of policing. You know, we can no longer, this can no longer be pushed under the rug. It's real. And so we've got to realize that this makes us very dangerous to them. If enough of us wake up to what's going on, we will be pulling them off their thrones faster than you can snap your fingers at them. And they know this. So their only solution to a defense is fear. They can only broadcast fear, fear, fear into us. And the more they broadcast fear, the closer we know we've got them to the end of their little paradigm. It's like, do you know when a dog growls at you and it wants to bite you? Well, I mean, it doesn't really happen to me, but it's when they're afraid of you, right? An animal wants to become aggressive towards you when it's afraid, right? And they are showing aggression towards us because when an animal's afraid, they want to make you afraid of them. That's because they're afraid of you. If they're not afraid of you, then they don't need to make you afraid of them. They want us to be afraid of them. That's why they're pushing this information and the narratives and the counterintelligence networks the way they are. So, you know, we may be in a state of apathy, like you say, Otigili, but we are a big crowd. And when enough of our big crowd starts waking up, which people are, we're going to start saying, well, can we punch back, right? We've been your punching bag for long enough, but what happens when we punch back? And I'll never forget this video of lions hunting buffalo until the buffalo bulls stopped, turned around and thought, hold on, there's only a few of you and they started throwing the lions up with their horns up into the air. Have you ever seen a lion run that fast before? Tail between the legs, like it was, we think of lions as being like king of the jungle. Do you know what would happen in a one-on-one fight between a lion and a bull? Guess. There would be a lion running for its life, right? So, you know, that's the reality of what we're facing here. And these predators are exactly that. They are predators. They are preying on the children. They want to use them to fulfill their little magical thing to control the world and the future. But we've got the power of the past. And this is where the occult knowledge comes into it. Understanding where we come from, understanding our heritage, understanding the spiritual power that we have the potential to draw on this. And yeah, people often ask me about shamanism. Like, are you going to start a school for shamanism? I'm like, well, I can't start a school for shamanism because there's no such thing. You cannot teach shamanism. But I am going to be launching an occult school, right? This is on the cards. which is going to be teaching occult precepts and occult practice. And this is the key: practice, right? You can read books on martial arts till you go blue in the face. You can watch MMA documentaries or films, but you got to do it. And it's when we start practicing that we start becoming empowered. Our will, our focus, our ability to shift consciousness is the ability to shift energy, is the ability to change the world around us. And so when enough of us start actively co-creating and using that potential, that extra dimensional, extra sensory power that we all have, we start working as a group. We start producing the change in the world that we want to see in ourselves. Are you with us, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. It's half term at my client's house, and there's loads of kids about. So I'll try and they're all outside. They've just come inside now, so it's a bit noisy. But I finish at like about 2:30. Yeah, I was want to say it's quite profound. You mentioned the buffalo and the lion, because of course the buffalo that the Native Americans used to track and be more in tune with nature. The buffalo were all killed, and the lion, a big symbol of the empire. And there's no coincidence that it's called lion, because they're lying. We've been lied to. And here in the UK, the royal crest is a lion on one side, and the other side is a unicorn. And the unicorn is chained, just like our myths and our own theology is chained, and it's been changed by them, by the liars. And it's the same with Pan and Apollo. They had a musical contest, and Apollo won, and his instrument was the lyre. And obviously NASA's space missions, what are they? Apollo. You have AI linked to Apollo, which is just signals to me hollow. It's all hollow. And I think that looking into the abyss, and the abyss stares back, like this kind of grave they've dug for themselves via this atomized, trying to turn this realm into a tomb. We've kind of got to the bottom of this crevice now, and now we're starting to see the kind of depths of this fuckery that's been going on, really. Basically, this kind of the spell that's being put on us via, entertainment, symbols, mythology, our stories of who we are, where we are, what we are, where we've come from, where we're going, and where we're at right now. And yeah, I think that it's very, very important to realize that we are the buffalo, and that when one of us turns around and says enough is enough, the rest will follow. And it can be like quite isolating being that one to turn around and say enough is enough. I think from school it's kind of it's taken from us. It's myself, like in school, I always used to stand up to bullies, always used to get into fights, but I worked out a way of, I never got hurt, but I didn't hurt them either. I don't know what was going on, but I think there was just a force there, which was kind of, in a way, protective. And I've always had that kind of protective mentality over people as well. And I think that lots of us are quite spread out, so it can be very isolating, especially for those who've been looking into all of this stuff for years, because I myself am quite new to lots of this stuff, but I've been trying to, because I was on sleep mode for a while, and now I've been trying to go deep into everything that I can to try and work out what's going on. That's why I look into language, because reading between the lines, there's no lie between the lines. You can have this or that, but if you go the space in between spaces, the liminal spaces, the spaces of dream time, I guess some call it the language of the birds. or the birds, or it's like the language of the bards as well. Like a bard is a musical player. It's the music, but it's the resonance of the spaces in between. And when I had a soul retrieval journey, the shaman, she was playing her drum, and I could hear the spaces in between, the resonance of the sound, like the resonance of what the thing bouncing around. Like music of the spheres came to mind, and yeah, music of the sorry, one sec. Music of the spheres came to mind. I don't know why, and I've been trying to find this sound, but I can only ever hear it when someone's playing a drum, like a shamanic drum. I've been told it's like spirits you can hear. It's kind of quite high pitched, sort of like, but yeah. I'm just gonna turn my mic off for a minute.
Yeah, completely. You know, there's a lot of sounds in the drum. The drum's mystery. When we allow ourselves to experience the resonance, and you're right. You know, there's a buzzing sound. There's a high pitched sound. There's two different fields of sound. One's like a very high frequency. One's a very deep resonant frequency, and both of them serve a purpose. You know, the one is in awakening our emotion through the astral field, and the other one is bringing the clarity of logical thought. And something I thought to also bring into this conversation here was this. Oh, it's been lost. What's happened? Oh, it's not lost. It's right here. This tarot card here, which is such a big part of what's going on, right? It represents everything. This is us, you know, Adam and Eve. This is us, the two sides of ourselves, the evocation side, the invocation. This is us, morality and ethics, right? This is us. And this card obviously represents that power of Saturn, right? And Saturn is very much related to the number 8. The number 8 is very much related to money. This is Saturn in the sign of Capricorn, which is the cardinal element of Earth, which is the cardinal focus of attaining wealth. There we go, the attainment of wealth. So on one level, this card represents the attainment of wealth. On another level, this card represents addiction. And the attainment of wealth and addiction are so closely embedded. They're embedded with each other. And we can see the horns is an inverted number 3, right? An inverted number 3 means 3 is expansion of Jupiter. The inversion of 3 is Saturn's contraction. This is all about the contracts, agreements that we've made. And we become slave because of the agreements. And there's another point, you know, we could think of those two as children. There's another element to this. If we're going to apply it to what's been released in these files recently, I'm not going to call it the Epstein files anymore. I'm going to call it the global dominance files. Yeah. The GD files, the golden dawn, the golden dominance, the global dominance files. And I think that this also shows us, like our children, what we need to take from this is how are we going to move forward with our kids? And I saw, you know, tall tree, Jeremy's brain moving this way. He's thinking about his little girl. He's noticing the dangers. The idea of letting your child go and be schooled by a stranger in an organization, in a place that you don't have control over, is madness. We need to stop this. Everybody needs to stop sending their children to schools. That is how we win this war for our minds. Because our children are the future. This is where they find our children. It's the schools that put the children into categories. It's the school that has a dossier on our children, right? They have medical files on our children. They have medical inspections in school. They have a dossier on our child's emotional states, all the files that they keep on our children start in the schools. If we don't give them access to the information about our children, how will they find them? Let's just think about that for a moment. So there's nothing to fear except playing according to their set of rules. People need to start claiming and taking their children's education into their own hands. And the best way to do that is to form a collaboration. So what happens if the government wants to come and interfere with people that are refusing to send their children to school? There needs to be all of the people in that area, all of the parents standing together until they start to reach a point where they've got critical mass, right? A great number of people, parents, and start to say that they don't agree with the way the schools are being run. They don't agree with the syllabus. They don't agree with this. They are tired. From now on, the only school that they will send their children to are schools that are administrated by them. So the government needs to pay them the salaries they were going to pay to the headmasters. The salaries that the government was going to pay to the people to invent the syllabus, they have to pay the parents. They have to pay the parents everything that they were going to spend, so that out of the parental board, they can nominate people that want to do that work of the parents that are accountable to the parents. And the syllabus is dictated by within that community. Every community is going to have people that have knowledge, and that will be discussed by the community as what they want their children to know. This is the only way to move forwards with regards to education. And, there are some really good systems out there. The Steiner system is pretty much about as good as this education system gets for the children. So I think we need to start finding ways and solutions to move forwards with that. I'll be honest with you, as a parent, the only thing that scares me, Epstein files doesn't scare me. Those pedophiles out there, they don't scare me. Those narcissists, they don't scare me. But the thought of my child being brainwashed by a stranger in a school, that scares me. That scares the hibby-jibbies out of me. Hence, my boy's 9.5, and he's never been in a school. And if I get my way, and I'm fighting against forces, legal forces and everything here in my country, if I get my way, he will never step into a school. And he does get an education. He does. I do have teachers on the Zoom that are like registered teachers, but from the British curriculum that give him his information. The difference is that I can sit and watch the classes with him and stop and pause the class, or if it's the live classes, pull him aside after the class and say, okay, your teacher said that, and that. I want to sit down with you. She's talking nonsense. That's not true. This is not true. That's not true. And I'm already showing my son a lot of what they say is not true. They oversimplify information for the children. I'll give you an example. They say that the plant makes its own food out of the sun. Then they say that the plant needs to extract nutrition from the soil. And I'm like, you see, they're playing games with words, my boy. Food is nutrition. And all that the plant makes from the sun is sugar. And sugar is just pure energy. But everything that the plant needs to grow comes from the soil. The energy that it needs to make things happen comes from the sun. But all of the minerals come from... So you got to understand that they're playing word games with you at a young... And now they teach you this word game, and then when you're a bit older, they'll change the word game to that. And so you get used to them moving the goalposts for what words mean, right? And so when you're older and they start changing the meanings of words, you just, it's always been that way. They've been doing that to me since I was little. But why would they use the word food instead of sugar? Easy, Children aren't that stupid. My son's 9 years old, and they're still telling him that these words that I'm saying, right? And so, and that's just one example. There are many other things that I flag up and I discuss with my son, and I say, that's not right. That's wrong. You need to question everything your teacher says. So I think there are solutions, workable solutions that we can have. There are online schools that you can have your child, and it just means having to have somebody that you know and trust, a family friend, a grandmother, a parent, a cousin, uncle, whoever, somebody that you know and trust, not some bloody stranger that you don't know from a bar of soap, that you wouldn't even necessarily invite into your home because you don't know them, right? Have access to your kids. And these people get to write down information about your children into a file that you don't even get to see. And that file gets handed over to some board of education. No, 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 no. Where is the right to privacy? Oh, well, when your children are concerned, you don't have a right to privacy. Since when? So, I think we need to start taking back our actual power on the physical plane. We need to start taking back our actual power on the spiritual plane. And we need to start applying the way that we think into the world in such a way that we recognize and realize that when people are trying to make us afraid, it means they're afraid. And the moment we can realize that, then we are no longer susceptible to their fear, because they broadcast their fear at us and we go, oh, they must be weak. Okay, sure, that's good. I was almost going to get scared. Okay, the fact that they're acting the way they are and they want us to be afraid means they must be afraid. And the moment we start twisting our consciousness in that way, we start recognizing and realizing that, there is nothing to fear. And I believe as well that when it comes to the extra dimensional reality that we're living in, and I think this is like really important for us to be able to recognize and to put it into perspective. Who was it that asked this question? I hope you're still in here. Mr. JM, are you still in the house? Is there Mr. JM in the house? It's on the screen at the moment, right? If you see what's on the screen, you'll see it there. What's with seeing repeating numbers? And I think that this is something that is usually a sign. Yeah. It usually comes to us when we're starting to wake up, when we're starting to see through the illusion that the nature of this reality is a quantum field, an expression of consciousness, and that we like to think of consciousness as being independent of matter. This is something that Cosmic and I always disagree about. I feel that matter is consciousness, vibrating at a different frequency, and that within this field of consciousness, some bits of matter is vibrating heavily and some bits of matter are vibrating at a fine rate. And that there is a subtle law of correspondence that governs these vibratory patterns and frequencies, so that they are in phase with other frequencies that are relevant and relative to them in terms of having a correlation. And this is the second law of Hermes, the field of this information that is a blanket of correlation, correspondences. And so what we see in matter corresponds to certain thought patterns, right? If you see, I'll give you an example. Within the field of matter, you might have the kind of biome that will eat a corpse or rotting flesh, for example, right? And that biome will be in phase with a particular field of consciousness, which is a self-destructive form of consciousness, a consciousness which harms, a consciousness which breaks things down and is designed to create destruction. And that consciousness, we could refer to it as Kali, Mahakali. We could refer to aspects of it as Rudra, the masculine element of it that drives that field, right? And the field itself is the Kali. And that this is a necessary part of consciousness to dissolve ignorance. When the direction of that field is pushed towards ignorance, it becomes an empowerment because it dissolves the ignorance. This is Shiva. When that field is directed outwardly, it becomes a destructive pattern because it causes harm. And that's just an example. Through all the different phases of matter, there is a phase of consciousness that's in frequency with it. And so to recognize and realize just how important the field of love really is, that we love each other, that we care. Here's an interesting little interlude. There's this lady at my shop, and she's been doing tick. She's a homeless lady, but you'll find her dancing on the street in the morning and on drugs. My little boy spoke to her this morning, and I was like, Josh, I don't want you talking to her, right? Trying to explain to him she's taking drugs. Like, it's very clear to me what specific drugs she's on. She's on speed, right? Amphetamines. And she's quite toxic. She's quite aggressive towards the people that come there. She aggressively pursues money from people. And she's very good at bullying the people to making them feel like they have to give her money, and she gets money and she goes and buys drugs, right? And I was explaining to my son in front of the shopkeeper, and I said, you tell Joshua. And he said, just 3 days ago, she urinated right there at the table where people ate, standing on top of the table where people eat on, right at my shop. And he was like shaking his head like, this is like very bad. And, you know, he was like, he's worried that she's going to bring more of her crew to this area, and that'll bring crime and people getting mugged. And, you know, so my point is, love and compassion is one thing, but acceptance and tolerance is another thing, right? Just because we love, we need to have love and compassion for these slave drivers. We need to have love and compassion for the people like Epstein, in my opinion. Because if we don't, then we become the enemy ourselves. However, feeling compassion and love for these people as like very sad extensions of the human race that have lost their way and become, disassociated into being possessed and being used by beings that have no good agenda. This is no, please no, Josh. This is, I'm not going to speak again. Please, my boy. He's got to do his class. Oh, he's coming to ask me about his games. What's the time? Let me check the time. Okay. I'm going to have to go and check his history before I let him play Minecraft. I have a feeling that he was playing the fool, because I noticed his mother wasn't paying attention earlier, and she was supposed to be keeping an eye on him. I had to go and talk to him a couple of times and say, dude, what class are you doing? And find out that he's skiving. Children will skive. But anyway, this tolerance is not what compassion is. Love is something that's powerful. Like, I'll give you an example. I love my son, right? And because I love my son, I will take action and I will be strict with him, even if it makes him cry. His mother told me I was being cruel to him the other day because I was banishing him from playing Minecraft, and he hasn't touched his games most of this week, right? Because I wasn't satisfied with his behavior. And his mother was trying to characterize me as being mean and cruel. You made our child cry. And I'm like, no, I love my son. This is why I made him cry. Because I want him to learn that he can't carry on in an aggressive fashion towards animals. I will not tolerate it. I catch him being mean to animals or hurting animals, or he was kicking the little dog. No, dude. Dad's going to come down on you like a ton of bricks, dude. I'm going to take away your tablet, ban you from playing games. I'm going to limit your access to like entertainment in a like severe way. You're going to, and that's love. And sometimes love involves, as they say in India, a bamboo massage. Have you guys heard of what a bamboo massage is, by the way, you guys? It's a typical Indian concept. Oh my gosh, bamboo massage. This is what you do to people when you love them. If they go too far astray, you give them a bamboo massage in India. A bamboo massage is like when people get bamboo sticks and they beat you with bamboo sticks, right? It's because the bamboo sticks aren't going to cause any serious harm, right? They're not going to break your bones, but it's a bamboo massage. It's it's going to teach you the error of your ways, and that's love. So This is, I think, ooh, climbing on daddy. You're climbing on daddy. Hey, look at this. Oh, where are you going? So, there we go. There we go. Give me 1 second. Oh, he wanted to come up. I thought it was a little dog playing with my toe, and then I realized it wasn't a little dog, it was him. Little Agarthon. He's finished eating now, and he wanted to run around and come and jump on daddy. But Agarthon, like bravery in Greek. And I took one look at him and I was like, this is a brave little guy. He's going to need a name that he'll walk over the dog to get to my foot. Give you an idea of what we're talking about, a brave little bird. But we are in a brave new world, right? Yes, Agarthon. We're in a brave new world. And we need to be brave in this world because the forces against us is this force in this card, this devil card. And you'll notice in the devil card, like, yes, daddy's little boy. In the devil card, like, these two can just remove the rings from their necks. They're not really in prison, right? They are just being fooled into believing that they're trapped. And so we're in this game of lies and deceit. And the moment we recognize what deceit means. Are you with us, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. I've been doing some hoovering, so I'm a little bit out of breath. I just one second. Yeah, I'm a little bit out of breath because I was just doing some hoovering. I was listening with headphones, and yeah, I just wanted to just say that all of the people in the what did you call it? Because I don't like the name Epstein files either. But anyway, all of this information coming out, most of the people on it are the people who were pushing the jab in 2020. And use Bill Gates as an example. His parents were, or they started, what did they start? Planned Parenthood. He was clearly abused as a child. And therefore now that comes out, now he's abusing children. So that's how the cycle continues. That's what happens. There are a few more things on Saturn. Oh yeah, this card and Saturn and the discipline of the father. It's a very common story in our house as well. Being too stern or too strict. Saturn, old father time. This is why this whole thing of the father giving discipline as a form of love, because if there is no discipline, therefore the child will not know what self-love is. You have to have boundaries. You need to know the ledge so that you, as the water, the wisdom, can dissolve that ledge and go beyond. Perhaps this is what the firmament is. This whole Saturn moon matrix, or how Saturn rules time, space, and boundaries and discipline. Perhaps it's necessary to sort of to have lessons, to, like, perhaps this is what this realm is, for us to know lessons, and then via boundaries, via this sort of discipline, so then we can move on. I don't want to say transcend or ascend, just move on, like water, flow. But it's been corrupted, and that we're kind of via guilt, which isn't necessarily our own, which has been put onto us emotionally and psychologically and spiritually, that it kind of it binds us. And this is like, Saturn isn't a person. These gods aren't people, they're energies. And this is the energy which has been weaponized against us of discipline. The weaponization of emotions and empathy and morality, that it's kind of this guilt being pushed on us so that we become bound. and we become closed off from ourselves, but also from other people. Isolation, and that kind of energy of this kind of discipline, because it kind of reminds me of Saturnalia as well, where they used to let the slaves free in Rome, and then after all the debauchery and stuff, they used to put them back into chains, and they had the approval of the people, because they said, look what they do when they're released from their chains. They behave like this. So then you have the majority of the population saying, right, okay, yeah, you need to chain them. You need to put them back into chains, because if they're not chained, look how they behave. And this seems like a really long Saturnalia ritual that's been happening for a long time, that we're first off with advertising, fast food, like so much stuff. It's kind of been forced upon us via advertising in a way. And then now they're like, see how we behave, we pollute the earth. Or not we, you all do it, not us, not the people doing it, not the people indoctrinating you. You are all the problem. Listen to good old daddy global governance, and here are your chains. And your chains are 15-minute cities. Your chains are get vaccinated with this experimental stuff, because therefore you're helping the collective because of public health. You know,
Blockchains.
blockchains, yeah, climate chains, not climate change, it's climate chains. Is there to chain us, because the world is changing, and so therefore they need to bring in the chains and shackle us. But on the on that tarot card, and also with the unicorn and the royal crest, those chains, I don't think that they're loose. They're loose. You can release the chains anytime, but you have the big daddy G governance globe, the whoever the government saying, no, you must listen to us, because we know how to do things. We must trust the science, trust government, right? We need to start trusting ourselves, because that's the intuition that they don't want us. They don't want us. So basically, they kind of, the internal is mirrored on the outside world. It's kind of reflected. But if we internalize it with our internal eye, we can sort of see with clarity, because the external eye, which has been centralized, which is observing us and is mirrored back to us with a distortion via social media, because it's a distortive, warped point of matter which isn't truth. Then that's how we get through this, is using our internal eye, our internal sight, and not, what's the word, not externalizing our power, because we've given away so much power over the years. And even our children, like you were saying with education, like given away to a stranger, sat down under LED or fluorescent lights for so much of the daytime. And in the end, as parents, we can teach them the truth. But if they go through so much indoctrination, they don't really want to learn anymore. Once they know a tree is a tree, it stops it being anything else, because they know that it's a tree. But that's just the outside. The school doesn't teach them that the tree has roots. School doesn't teach them the fruit of the tree. Big old G, how dare we eat from the fruit, like Eve did. And I think that's reflected in the school system. Just be by the tree, but don't eat from the fruit. Don't know what the tree really is, which is the Trinity, which is the vortex energy of the balanced masculine and feminine, and then using your internal eye to see with clarity. That's what's going on, I reckon.
Very true, brother. And I suppose it's be a good thing to look at what corresponds to Capricorn, right? So Capricorn represents that control from the outside, right? And it's very much about discipline, which is not a bad thing, right? But we are allowing the discipline to come in. We should be our own disciplinarians. We shouldn't be being disciplined by a government. We shouldn't need a government to give us permission to travel. That's a lot of nonsense. We should decide whether we are ready to travel or not and move accordingly. This card now is a very different story. This is the Charioteer. Here you can see this is about personal responsibility, right? Where I want to go, what I want to do. This is Cancer as opposed to the Capricorn. And this represents everything that Capricorn doesn't. Where Capricorn is logical and is enforcing a doctrine from the outside as a force, this is bringing forth an emotional current from the inside. What do I feel? So this is really the complete utter opposite. This also has its pitfalls because we can get lost in our feelings, right? We can get trapped in that little Charioteer's box. That looks like much more of a real trap than Capricorn, right? But at the same time, you can just jump off that ride. It's just going to be a bumpy landing.
But I do need to point out that both Cancer and Capricorn are land and water animals. So they both have that similarity.
Yeah, definitely. That is quite an interesting point to bring up. The crab, where the crab walks around in circles, like the goat just goes straight towards its goal. It doesn't.
It's a sea goat though, Capricorn. Not just a goat. It's a sea goat. But I think the downfall of Capricorn is going on to land and forgetting the sea, whereas the downfall of Cancer is going round in circles and not having any direction. So there's the yin to the yang. Capricorn has the direction, but it forgets the sea, and then the Cancer goes around in circles like a sphere, but sort of has no real direction like Capricorn does, maybe.
Yeah, when it's interesting when you think about a goat. When I lived in the Himalayas, I used to watch these goats, and it used to blow my mind. I've never seen a braver animal in my life. Bloody hell! The way they fly up those cliffs, and I've sat watching them, like you literally on the edge of your seat. You're afraid for this creature, right? Because it jumps up ledges like 15 feet at a time. Like, believe it. It catches on by its hooves and then it starts to fall. And it falls 10, 20, 30 feet and it's kicking at the cliff as it's falling. And it's falling and falling. And finally it gets its little hooves hooked into something and it manages to and it starts again. Jumping from ledge to ledge. It just keeps going up. And I'm like watching like, oh my God, it's going to fall. And somehow they just keep going up until they get to the top of that mountain. Now, what we don't realize that up in the sky above us, there's another ocean, right? Yeah, Gaz. I mean, bloody hell, when you watch these guys, you get respect for them. You realize, I'm never going to mess with one of those guys. That's what you realize. You climb that mountain, like when you see those goats, you bow your head in respect, bro. You don't fight them for right away on the path. You're like, no, you go first. I'll hang back. I'm not going to fight you because there's just no winning. But the tenacity will take them to the top of that mountain, which is where the clouds are. And so there are the oceans beneath us, and there's the oceans above us. You mentioned the firmament before, right? And the evil slave masters, they like to create firms, right? They like to create firms because they want to create a false boundary beneath us and a false boundary above us, false firmaments. And we are within the firmaments of water. And so that's where life exists within this boundary. And so, it's quite interesting to think that even when they're climbing up a mountain, they're going back to the ocean. And it's like I was explaining to my son that what you're seeing in the sky when there's a big cold front coming is an ocean of water. And he was like, that's like the sea up there. I said, yeah, brother. That's like the sea up there, my boy. That's an ocean up there. And like he's stretching his brain. That's why it's gray, because it's reflecting the light. This is big body of water floating around in the air, you know? And so, yeah, I think like that, there's something quite powerful about this idea of a sea goat, you know? And I think the reason that they see another reason for the sea goat is because of Capricorn rules money. Okay, let's get into this. Saturn, number 8, rules money. Now, who rules mercantile? The word mercantile, mer means ocean. Oceans is how our resources were taken. He wants to get onto my keyboard, and I cannot allow it. I gotta. There is no keyboard. You know, this is not the keyboard you are looking for. This is not the keyboard you are looking for. So, you know, Mercury. So Mer means the sea. The planet Mercury, even though it's an airy planet, rules the mercantile, rules the trade over the oceans. And the trade of the oceans is done by the virtue of Saturn's power, money. And that money, which represents power, is the tool of Capricorn, because Capricorn is about generating success. And generating success is about generating resource, and generating resource is about holding resource in the form of a credit. And so that credit, you know, gives you money. And so this is one of the hidden symbolic forms behind why the sea goat and Mercury are so connected. And Mercury represents the communication necessary between the bank and the ship. Okay, we've got to understand what's going on here, right? So the ship comes to the bank, and the ship, this is Phoenician law, to understand what the Phoenicians set up here. The ship gets to the bank, and they then trade in currency. The currency that's traded in is the domain of Capricorn, held by Saturn, the goat, the sea goat, right? Because that very currency is representing Saturn. The Mercury, the Mercura, is the curiosity, the cure that is seeking the things from other lands, the resources, and sending our curiosities across the oceans. And so this connection between the banks and the ship, and we're talking citizenship, right? We're talking about, this is why we need to be certified, right? I've got to put him down for a moment, otherwise he's not going to stop.
I just want to point out
yes,
that also currency is the currency, like what we're seeing currently. And our currency at our core really is our perception, because it's our perception what creates reality. And that is really what the whole money system is about, is creating a certain reality, but that's created through us. So the currency is the attention that we give and our perception of that. And that's the currency, like the current, the electrical current, the spark in the water, in the sea. So, yeah.
yeah, totally. And here's an interesting point, just to bring it back, make this connection. So Saturn has very strong connections with the personal will, and that personal will is about that move towards generation, manifestation. And so manifestation, the word mani, comes from Sanskrit meaning gem. Ma-ni. Ma is the feminine, ni is the body part of Saturn, right? The Saturn's knee body part, digging into the earth, the goats, when it's connected to the Ma, the mother, the ocean, Mani, becomes money. Aum Mani Padme Hum. Mani means gem of many, many sides. So the Mani is related to the knees and related to how to move across the oceans, and is ruling Mani, right? That particular mantra is the gem of the Manipura chakra. Now, the Manipura, which has got the word money in it, which is the manifestational chakra, the solar plexus, right? The black sun. I want to repeat this twice. Black sun. Solar plexus. You got two solar chakra. You got the Anahata, which is also a solar chakra, and you got the Manipura chakra. The Anahata chakra has got 12 petals. Yeah, the sun, 12 houses. The Manipura, this is the tetrahedron or the lower facing triangle, right? And the Manipura chakra is what is, you could consider it relating to the manifestational powers of the dark sun, the black sun. Now, that Manipura chakra is obviously connected to Saturn's money, right? And so you could think you're going to find all these new ages that are going to tell you that Saturn is related to Muladhara chakra or Saturn's related to Visuddhi chakra. But actually, when you start to really look at how things work, the solar power, the black sun chakra, which is your force of digestion, the pancreas in the human body that is responsible for compression, breaking things down so that it can contract with your nutrition, right? And your nutrition gets denatured, broken down, and compressed into smaller parts, contracted. And then we contractually extract the nutrients and the energy that we require from the food that we eat by the emphasis and power of the Manipura chakra, the pancreas and the stomach working together. So, you know, you can see that relation. And then Mercury, right? You with us, brother?
Yeah, I'm just going to go do some hoovering in a sec, but I'll be listening. But I just want to throw out there before I do that, so I won't be able to talk for like 10 minutes, is also the mana, the monatomic gold, the gold, right? And then there are photos of pharaohs, pharaoh, the ones which can travel on the waters far, far-seeing ones, that they sometimes have a pile of mana in front of them. And then now these pharaohs, bankers, the ones which are between us and God, us and Source, the technocrats, they have a big pile of money. And their energy is also, of course, adrenochrome as well, which I'm sort of saying is like a poor man's monatomic gold, because they don't have their own spark. They have to feed off others. So yeah, I'll just throw out mana while we're talking about money, which is gold, and then the monatomic gold as well, which we emit. I think I've only just started looking into what it is, but I'll just throw that out there, and I'm going to be listening. So I'm going to turn my camera off.
Yeah, brother. You know, you mentioned the pharaoh. Wow. The Phoenicians and the ancient Egyptians. Gosh, I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but the Phoenicians obviously set up all these huge trade networks, but they inherited this from the ancient Egyptians, who were the first shipbuilders, who were traveling, mapping the world, right? Ancient Egypt, or the land of Kem. And they also had a maritime society. Interesting. We've been discovering more and more evidence of this from the ancient Egyptian archives of history that's forcing people to look at things from a different perspective. But this idea of the pharaoh. So they had these old boats, and this goes back to the Viking boats, which are the Phoenician boats. The Phoenician boats are the Viking boats. The Phoenician boats had dragons on the front of their boats, right? And the Phoenicians instituted this maritime law because they were able to dictate to different governments all around the world what currency would be used, what the value was, because they arrived in their ships and they had the things that the other governments desired, right? And because they had the things that the other governments desired, they were able to dictate, in a sense, right? What would be the case, basically. And so, you know, it's quite easy for us to get a sense of what was happening when we look at this story, because the Phoenicians, right, they brought with them the writing, the right thing, right? This is correct. It's got to do with law. You had to write down the laws so that everybody knew what the law was, what was the right thing. And the right thing was written down. And if you didn't do the right thing, then you had to go to court. And then there would be a maritime procedure done. Because on ships, everybody who went onto a ship had to be part of the birth, right? You had to birth onto a ship. And so a ship would control who was in the ship and who was part of the ship. And it was, you know, sight, ruled by sight. So everybody that was in your surrounding was part of your citizenship. And this idea was then taken from the Phoenicians. It came back from more ancient times. And so the ancient Egyptians were the Fae, you're right, the Fae, that would row across the oceans. Why were they the Fae? Well, they were magicians, and they were mastering occult forces. And so they would work with the Fae, the elemental beings, the elemental entities that would give them access to occult powers. So it's really interesting when you start looking at just how far back this web of control goes. I think the pharaohs were probably a big part of setting up that infrastructure that we are now living under. And, you know, the pharaohs, the Phoenicians, and from Phoenicians, it just came with each next generation, the same idea being remodeled and reused by the Black Cabal, because obviously we would become awake to what was being done to us. And this would then become, you know, quite a serious matter, right? Because humans can only be fooled for so long. And once we've been fooled for so long, then we wake up. But if you fool us and then fool us with a new skullduggery and change skullduggery, we will keep being fooled, because just as soon as we are going to wake up to that skullduggery, they introduce the next one. And they themselves say that the last one was nonsense. So now we stop thinking, now we've got to start figuring out this new one. It's like a puzzle. You give someone a puzzle, and just before they're about to put the puzzle back together, you take it away and give them a new puzzle, starting from scratch. Just before they're about to complete the puzzle, you take it away and give them a new puzzle. And so this is what's been going on. And it's going on now in this world. And this is why we've heard about Epstein files, and, you know, before it, the Butlers files, and the Gary Glitter files, and the BBC files, and the Pizzagate files, and, you know, Michael Jackson files. We just go back. It's been the same story repetitively happening. And each time we're starting to get onto them, they martyr one of their own, right? So that they can create a new network with a new hub, and that new hub then becomes the center of the new direction. And I think like this is really important to understand. The fact that they are being forced to change their martyr more often means they're getting more and more nervous. For them to sacrifice one of their own, they've got to be scared. So we got to know we got them running. We got them on the ropes. Anyway, this has been going on for almost 3 hours. Sending you so much love and blessings and peace, honor, and respect. And it's been an honor having you, Tree. And you got your last bits you want to throw on the table? Throw it at us, brother. You are
Wasn't
muted.
letting me unmute my mic. All good? Okay, so my thoughts are that you mentioned longboats. Now, in Chinese, long means dragon, and these long boats used to have dragon heads on the front of them. And long is lung, which is air, breath, and these sailors. I'm just gonna kind of like throw this out there. As when you were saying this, I was thinking that we are the boats, we are the dragons in the sea, and that they're using via psyops, which is pounds per square inch, PSI, which is oxygen or air, the breath of life. They're via psyops, they've managed to harness our vessels, our boats, our dragon energy, and use that to sail on the seas. And I just thought I'd throw that out there. Long is dragon, and also it's lung as well, which is to do with the breath and air. And if you have enough air, you'll be a little bit lighter. And this is how they make things dense, is with their psyops, so that our vessel, our boat, our dragon doesn't have direction, and we're perhaps lost at sea. And then good old government says, "Oh, do you know what? We can help you. You look like you're lost at sea." So they jump into our vessel. Not government. I mean, like beings which aren't us, parasites. Let's call them parasites. The parasite files, the parasites, governments, corporations, whatever. The parasite, when it sees that we're a bit lost, it jumps into our vessel and then starts using us to navigate the matter, the sea. So yeah, I'll just throw that out there. My last thoughts. Much love to you, Franklin, and everyone in the chat. It was unexpected today. I thought I was just gonna be listening. I was like, oh yeah, I'll jump on for a little bit. But yeah, always a pleasure.
And always an honor having you on the show too, dear brother. I love your lucidity.
You're muted.
And just
You're muted. Your mic's not on.
My mic's not on, but it is. You can't hear me.
Howard said in the chat that he can hear you. Do you know what? It might just be me. I have no idea why. So I'll plug my headphones back in.
There we go, brother. Sorry about that. Yeah, man, just one thing to add to it. The lung is negative effect is sadness and sorrow. That's the other way that they control us. Depression. They want us unhappy and they want us to feel like we've got no chance. But yeah, thank you, dear brother. Thank you, everybody. And Shinobi, as always, an honor. Big love and blessings to everybody. You're muted, by the way, Shinobi.
Yeah. Much love to you, man. I don't know if you can hear me with these headphones, but yeah.
Take care, everybody. Don't forget to smile and keep the love alive. And yeah, man, long. That's interesting. Long way away. We're a long way away. There's that too. Yeah, distance. Om Shanti. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Take it easy, everybody. Keep it sweet. And till next time, don't forget, life is short. So live the dream. Om.